Hello and welcome to the Sports Rapport. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, your host for this program that's all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. I'm on set with producer Nathaniel Wilson.
Hello.
And camera operator Holt Alvey. And we're joined by our awesome team in the control room, Mike Dunn, Kyle Embusk, Dave Rice, and Joey Palumbo. We want to hear from those of you watching live on YouTube. If you've got questions or comments during the show, please let us know in the chat. And for those of you listening via radio or podcast, we encourage you to check out our live stream each Monday at 2 p.m. on the Sports Rapport YouTube channel. Today on the show, we're joined by Shannon Bollhardt, the women's head basketball coach at St. Michael's College, and Josh Kessler is with us too, St. Mike's Director of Athletic Communications, and we'll be joined by my NBC5 weekday sports anchor, Jack Main. If you want to hear more about what's happening in Vermont sports, you're in the right place. It's time for the High Five, our weekly segment in which we count down 5 of the biggest stories from the last week in Vermont sports. At number 5, the St. Michael's Purple Knights men's hockey team played 3 overtime before falling to St. Anselm 3-2 in the NE10 championship semifinals on Saturday. It was the longest hockey game in St. Mike's program history and the longest game ever played in the Northeast 10 Conference playoffs. Purple Knights goaltender Evan Plunkett tied a school record, making 64 saves in what amounted to nearly 2 full games of hockey played as one.
And at number 4, John Caldwell, the father of U.S. cross-country skiing, passed away last week at the age of 97. Caldwell competed in the 1952 Winter Olympics in Oslo and then coached the U.S. teams at the Olympics in 1960, 64, 68, 72, and 84. He authored the book, The Cross-Country Ski Book, which is known as the Sports Bible.
At number 3, for a second straight year, the Mount Mansfield Union Girls Nordic Ski Team won the D1 title at the Craftsbury Outdoor Center Classic State Championships. In Girls Division II, Woodstock won its first championship in more than a decade, and it's a milestone for the Boys of Stowe, who took the D2 title for the first time in program history.
At number 2, Vermont Fish and Wildlife announced last week that a freshwater drum caught last summer has been officially certified as a new state record. 10-year-old Grayson Carey of Colchester caught the fish while competing in the Lake Champlain International Father's Day Derby last June with his father and grandfather. The fish weighed 28.5 pounds and measured at 37.5 inches long with 29 inches of girth. It beat the previous state record set in 2016 by 3 pounds.
That fish was as big as that kid. Am I wrong? No, I think it was. And at number 1, Spalding upsets Mount Anthony to win the Vermont State High School Wrestling Championship. This ends Mount Anthony's incredible 36-year reign as state champions. That was a national record, by the way. And it's Spalding's first title since 1984 in wrestling. Congrats to the Tide. And let us know in the chat if there's a story you think we might have missed, and we'll be right back with Shannon Bollhardt, the women's head basketball coach at St. Michael's College, and Josh Kessler, St. Mike's Director of Athletic Communications. We'll be right back. back to the Sports Rapport. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and I'm joined in the studio now by Shannon Bollhardt. She is the head basketball coach at St. Michael's College, and Josh Kessler is with us too, the athletic communications director at St. Mike's. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
And, Shannon, I want to start off right away with some congratulations to you. It was just last week you got career win number 100, right?
I did,
And
yeah,
it went over
thank you.
St. Anselm?
Yes, big one.
That must have felt amazing. How did that feel?
It was great. I didn't know that it was.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I had no idea. It was our last regular season game. It was a huge one. It locked in the 5 seed for our playoff situation. So I was very excited about that. So heading into the locker room, we were really fired up about that win. My associate head coach knew, my team knew. So I walked in, excited to celebrate that win. And lo and behold, they were ready to celebrate that milestone. So
Yeah, and it is that indeed. And of course, congratulations as well for winning the first game of the playoffs. A big win over American International. Wire to wire. Team
Yeah.
never trailed, right?
Yeah, no, we got the lead and kept the lead. It got a little dicey a couple times, but the team toughed it out and just did a really good job of sticking to our plan.
Yeah, so you've got another game coming up right away on Thursday. It's Bentley, the number 2 seed, is that right?
Number 1.
Oh, they're the number
They're
1
number
seed.
1 in conference, number 12 in the country. So
So a piece of cake.
yeah, easy, no problem. Already saw them twice. We're good.
Now, when you say you already saw them twice, what happened in those other 2 games?
Game 1, we were down there in December, maybe like a 10-ish point loss. 12,
Okay.
something like that. It was close. We fouled at the end. And then down here, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, closer to a month ago, a little bit bigger of a loss. This was when we were in our big scoring kind of drought. So a lot of things has changed on our end since then. So we're really excited.
I'm kind of surprised to hear you say a scoring drought because one of the strengths of the team this year seems to have been the offense.
Right.
I mean, you guys poured in, 91 points in a win over Franklin Pierce at one point?
Yeah, we've been a little bit kind of streaky. We started the season putting up big numbers. Kind of towards the mid-January when we went on a 4-game losing streak and our offensive confidence just went down. We were scoring 40s. We were in the high 40s, low 50s. Had some big conversations and kind of regrouped, and we're back on track now.
What do you do as a coach to get out of that kind of slump, to build that confidence back up?
That was good question. We tried a lot of different things. We said, hey, every shot's a good shot. We said every shot's a bad shot. We said, we had a lot of conversations. We try to be really, really collaborative with our team. We talk to our captains as much as we can. So we ended up changing our offense kind of, it's funny, in that Bentley game, in the fourth quarter, we just weren't scoring. And I said, hey, let's just try something different. So we kind of unleashed them a little bit and allowed our team to play in a little bit of a different style, which they really liked. And then I think that really catapulted us to where we needed to go. But basketball is such a mental thing. And our season is so long that we don't have time to, fix things. You have 2-game preps in between, 2-day preps in between games. So we just tried to instill as much confidence in them as we could. The team, they are so bought into one another that we just had lots of conversations about it's going to come. We're going to get it back, stay the course. And they did. So really proud of them.
I love that buy-in factor too. And Josh Kessler, let me ask you, the men's basketball team at St. Mike's has done pretty well over the years. I think the women's basketball team may have been overshadowed at times by the success of the men. What's it like for you as an athletic director, of communications to see the success this year of the St. Mike's women's team?
It's special in so many ways. I think you can see how the team has grown together, but also knowing that there have been some, I think, challenging seasons as they've sort of gotten back on track the last couple of years. It's special to see how well they've done, but also knowing that they're doing some historic things, and whether the student athletes know it or not, it's a unique moment, I think, for the program.
Or whether your coach knows it or not, she didn't even realize they got 100th win. That's amazing. I mean, it must be great. Has there been a sort of a concurrent rise in the attention that the team is getting on campus? Are you seeing more people coming out to the games?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, St. Mike's, our community is so tight-knit, and being a 4-year residential institution, the athletes are connected. We have such a high percentage of our student population are athletes. Our players live with other athletes, so they support one another. We go to other games, other sports come to our games. And let's be real, you want to go watch teams who are winning. So they're not going to come and watch a poor product, and we're putting out a much better product than we have been. So we have loved the support we've been getting from our students, but also from our faculty, also from our staff, the local community, the amount of emails and messages and social media messages we've gotten over the past, week has been overwhelming and incredible. And we're just so grateful for this community.
That's fantastic. And I have to wonder too, Josh, we've talked about this, you and I, in the past. St. Michael's, I don't know that people necessarily understand. This is a Division II school. You've got a student enrollment of about 1,300 or so, right? But I was doing a little research on this, and D2 schools on average, at the low end, have about 3,900 students. So you guys are dealing with a lower student population to draw these student athletes from. And it's been like this for years, right? I mean, in some ways, have you ever heard people say to you, you should really be a D3 school, not D2?
You're not the first person to utter those words, yes. And I think there's been so much buy-in from the college, from different facets on campus, administratively, especially over the last 5+ years. They have recognized how our coaches have been doing so much work on bringing in a good portion of the student population, but roughly 40% or so of classes the last few years. And it's not just finding the students who are really members of the community, becoming the members of the community that we want, being involved in clubs on campus and being standout students, but also they're standout student athletes, and they're wonderful citizens in the community. And the coaches have done a great job, Shannon obviously included, that we have so many coaches who really have been really pulling their weight and really helping St. Michael's College these last few years.
That's Josh Kessler, and I'm also here with Shannon Bollhardt, and they are with St. Michael's College, the head women's basketball coach and the athletics communications director. If you've got questions, by the way, for either of these folks, put them in the chat, because we'd love to ask these questions too. Maybe you're a St. Michael's alum or a current St. Michael's student. Let us know how you feel about the Purple Knights' success as we continue to have this discussion. Shannon, I do want to ask about some of the current players on your team. It seems like a pretty well-balanced team to me. You're getting scoring from a lot of different folks. I'm looking at what happened in the game, your most recent win. You had Jayla Tyler, the team's leading scorer, had a great game. Margaret Montplaisir, now I'm not sure, is she coming off the bench to score all these points? Because she's almost matching Jayla Tyler for the team leading points per game.
Yeah, call me crazy, right? Yeah.
Why isn't she starting?
Good
I'm not telling you how to do your job.
She got Player of the Week a few weeks ago, and I said we're probably the only team in the country whose Player of the Week is coming off of the bench. But I believe in consistency. I believe in knowing your role, knowing when you're kind of going to come into games, having that flow. And I think that our players thrive with consistency, and this has been working for us. So she comes in, she's a spark. We have a great problem that we have 7 kids that we could start.
That is a great problem to have. Yeah.
So we chose to kind of go the route of the group that we started last year. And again, she got great minutes last year. And we started 4 sophomores last year who are now 4 juniors this year. And now we're starting a fifth junior. So, it's just kind of where we're at, and it's been working for us. And, you talk about the balance. Our secret sauce is we don't have on paper these outstanding standout people where it's, get the ball to this person or get the ball to this person. We have to rely on here. We are beating teams who have those types of players, because if that player doesn't have a great game, it's what happened yesterday. So for us, like I said, they're so bought into one another. They understand our system. They understand what works in our system. And if someone is rolling, we go with that person. If someone isn't, they find a different way to help our team be successful. So there are games that Margaret has had 30. There are games that she's been shut down and someone else has had to step up and do great things. So really, really happy with who they are. And that's the type of player that we bring into our program.
So I mentioned before, you've had this great offensive output this season, but it hasn't been just offense. Right. I think there's multiple games this year you've held teams to under 50 points. What's your defensive strategy? How do you get the women to play such great defense?
Yeah, our defense has kind of been an evolution. they get all of our success comes from the defensive end. So we try to prepare them as much as we can defensively, and that's where our offense comes from. Our offense plays with tempo, off of D boards. Even if we get scored on, we don't care. We just go. So the defense has been a bit of an evolution, and we're small. We start 2 players who are, sorry guys, maybe 5'4", our 2 guards. So, there are some actions where we're like, we just need to get through things because we don't want to have mismatches. But as of late, we've been switching a lot and just being really aggressive. And you mentioned Jayla Tyler. Like, again, our starting center is maybe 5'10", 5'9", but she can guard positions 1 through 5. So the defensive aggressiveness has been great for us. We're switching, we're taking things away, we're trying to create chaos on defense, and we're really committed to rebounding, which is great. I think the biggest thing for us is we're always first to the floor. We're first to tie up loose balls. We are gritty, we are tough, and that's just the type of player that we bring in.
I mean, this sounds like an exciting brand of basketball.
It's fun to watch.
That is what you want to see. You want to see scrappy players. They're going to hustle.
Yeah.
If you're 5'4", it doesn't matter.
Right.
Speed takes up a lot of that. It takes away a lot from players who are taller. You can deal with it in that way. Josh, I want to talk a little bit about the men's team now, because they are also going to be playing a second playoff game. They were able to beat Pace University and on Saturday, I believe, right? Yep. That was not an easy game. They only won by a few points in that one. What's up next for the St. Mike's men?
Yeah, actually similar to the women in the sense that went on the road for a playoff game, never trailed, led almost wire to wire. So by the men were the 6th seed, still are the 6th seed, and then the 7th seed, Southern New Hampshire, went down to the 2 seed, Bentley, and also won. So as the 6th seed, the men will host a semifinal.
It sounds like a huge opportunity for the men's team here.
Opportunity. It's interesting. Maybe exercise some demons too, because they've played Southern New Hampshire a couple of times in the last couple of years, and I'll sort of lead into that here. But first off, Wednesday they host a semifinal, 7:00 against Southern New Hampshire. 2024, we were the 1 seed, hosted Southern New Hampshire for a conference semifinal and lost. Then we're also named the 1 seed to host the regional championship. First time in 60 some odd years that we hosted a regional championship. Faced Southern New Hampshire in the final. It was a 2-point game until like a minute and a half left, and then Southern New Hampshire just sort of pulled away at the end there. But you talk about sort of a nice run for the basketball teams. Men's basketball hosting regionals, women's basketball also hosting playoffs last year, men's basketball hosting a playoff game this year as well. Just a lot of good success in that gym.
Yeah, I'm seeing a real opportunity here for retribution, number one, like you just talked about, getting a little revenge on Southern New Hampshire. But that's a game that, again, if Southern New Hampshire had not upset Bentley, you would have been on the road.
Yes.
For the second game. Now you're at home. You got a chance to come. I mean, the team has got to be feeling good about their chances now.
I would have to imagine.
Yeah. And can we just mention a couple of players here on the men's team? Quinton Floyd is having a great year. Zacco Littleton, which I just want to put that name on a T-shirt. I mean, that is one of the great basketball names I've heard in a long time. He's having a great year. Latique Briscoe Jr. also. All those players I just mentioned were in double figures against Pace.
And I think that's sort of like the 3-headed monster guards. They're all guards, interchangeable in some ways, but Quinton's the point guard as a first year. Just really, really brings some stable offense. A lot of assists, not a lot of turnovers, about 2-to-1 for a first year. That's for anybody really, but for a first year in particular, that's pretty good. Those 3 are definitely leading the way.
No question. And it sounds to me a little bit like the men's team is now kind of reflecting Shannon's success with the women's team here. You're not depending on just one big player anymore. Yep. You've got more of a balanced attack here. You and I were talking before, and I'm dating myself here. We go back years. I remember coming to the campus to do a story about a wonderful player named Matt Bonds. And I know you remember him, and Shannon, obviously you do too. Just a terrific basketball player, wonderful young man, great student, great athlete. But he was the guy that they all depended on. He had fantastic stats, incredible rebounding stats, but the team wasn't winning because he was the only guy, right? It's different now.
It feels different. And I think I was talking to either Shannon or somebody right before about going back to the fall even. We were talking a little about the women's soccer team and the success they found.
Yep.
And yes, they do have that one player who's scoring some goals, but really it felt like a collective to me. The success wasn't one player, it was a collective. And I do see that with Shannon's team. And I think as the men have sort of figured out who they are, because they had some new players through the transfer portal, I think it took them a little bit, and even the coaches, to figure out who's our starting five, what's our rotation look like, and then if one guy isn't doing all of the scoring, okay, where's the scoring coming from? And I think as they've figured that out over the last, well, I guess the last couple of games, because they lost a few games, now they're sort of getting back into their groove, I think. I think figuring out that there doesn't have to be that one guy. And I actually feel like that's a lot of our teams. A lot of our teams succeed not because you have one person who is going to score 30 points every night, or lacrosse player is going to score 10 goals, or hockey player is going to have a hat trick. It really does seem like we have a lot of teams that really rely upon that depth at St. Mike's.
It's fantastic. Shannon, what is the preparation like? I know it's coming up really quick on Thursday for Bentley.
Yeah.
You're pouring over a lot of tape, I imagine. How are you preparing?
Yeah, we got home about 7:30 yesterday from AIC, so nice to get back early. We'll have a lighter practice today. We'll do a lot of, we'll watch film, we'll kind of go over them, start to get our defensive game plan in.
Yep.
A lot of shooting. We need to rest bodies. This will be our fourth road trip in a row. So that's my biggest thing, is I need to get our bodies as healthy as we can. And then tomorrow and Wednesday, we'll get a little bit more heavy. Our team prepares best by playing. We've tried to go let's go light and let's go easy, and that has just resulted in us not coming out prepared. So while we need to rest their bodies, we also need to go pretty hard. But like I said, we know Bentley well. They're excited to play Bentley. They were excited to, the best draw that we could have gotten was AIC. They were most confident about that. The next best draw is Bentley, believe it or not, for my team. So I'm excited to do that. Yeah, I think I'm probably 4 films deep so far. I'll go back and watch a couple more, watch our game from yesterday. But, the biggest thing is them being confident in their opponent, and they are. We've had, I think this is our 79th practice and our 28th game. So
Wow.
if you don't know it by now, you're not going to know it. So, and to the point you made earlier, this is a veteran team. I'm starting five juniors, and Margaret coming off the bench with big minutes, and Ava coming off the bench as a senior, Ava McDonough. So they're ready.
I'm thinking upset. I know I'm hoping that too.
A lot of people are, yeah.
But even if it doesn't happen, I think the season has been a tremendous success for the team. It really has. And it's got to be gratifying for you 13 years in or so, to see this kind of success now.
Sure, yeah. I've been with the program for 18, and when I was an assistant, we had a lot of success. And then there was, we've had some ups and downs, and obviously navigating a world through COVID and coming out of COVID and trying to kind of get back to our level of normal. So, there were some moments where you kind of wondered if we were going to make it. And again, we just have amazing players, and we have amazing people, and we recruit really good people who are bought into one another and bought into the system and bought into us. And that's our secret sauce. People say how fun it is to watch us play and how hard they play. So that will be how we recruit moving forward, and how we play moving forward. And we, when I got the 100th win, it took a minute, but, my favorite quote, and this is what I said to the team after, is sometimes the right way just takes a little longer. And I truly believe that we do things the right way. And it's paying off now.
We're running short on time here, but Josh, I have to ask, you had mentioned briefly the women's soccer team success last season, 16-3-1. I imagine they're going to come back with a lot of returning players. So you're looking for good things this season too.
Relatively young team, yeah.
Yeah, the men's soccer team also made the playoffs last year. We're looking forward to that.
Yep.
And tell us also, next week there's 3 skiers, Nordic skiers, I believe, that are competing in the NCAA championships.
We'll have 2 Nordic skiers, junior Oliver Matkey, sophomore Sam Friday, and then alpine skier, sophomore Isabella Knutson. They will all compete out at the NCAA championship in Utah. Honestly, just continuing an exceptional run of success for those programs. 3 years in a row, NCAAs for Nordic, decade plus for alpine skiing. Just,
Well,
really excited for all of them.
It has been just such a joy to talk about the success of St. Michael's College athletics all across the board here, specifically, of course, women's and men's basketball today. Just keep punching above your weight. You guys are really doing an amazing job, and thank you so much for being with us on the Sports Report today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Really appreciate it. And we'll be right back with my NBC5's Jack Main. Welcome back to the Sports Rapport. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and I'm here joining the studio now with Nathaniel Wilson, our producer, and my NBC5 sports anchor, Jack Main. Jack, thank you so much for being with us.
Man, thanks so much for having me. This is such an honor.
It's an honor for me. Let me tell you, your sports reporting is wonderful. You cover so many different sports in and around Vermont. People always say, we are a small state. It's true, but there are a lot of sports to cover. High school, college, and we are into this March Madness season now where the playoffs are gearing up. What are you specifically looking at, some things that you're excited about? Let's start with high school.
Starting on the high school front, we've got 4 semifinal games tonight, 2 of them at the Barry Auditorium, 2 of them at Patrick Gym. This evening, 5:30, 7:30 starts. So I'm really excited to get these brackets narrowed down and really start to see some well-deserved banners hung in some of these gyms across the state.
And of course, college. We're gearing up for March Madness with UVM is a team that everybody always looks to. How far can they go? What's it going to be like for them? What are you looking for this year's UVM team? And how would you classify them? They don't seem quite as strong as they have been in recent years.
Yeah, the women's team is far and away the best team in their conference, and they have the opportunity to go out there and be as high as a 13 seed potentially, and maybe get a matchup where they can get a win in that bracket. The men's team, man, that's a little bit of a different story. They're kind of in and out of this flow state where they're figuring out what works best for them, which rotation of guys can really come in and make a difference for them. You were talking with Shannon earlier about how some of their best players are coming off the bench, and that's the case for the UVM men's team, and that's by design, right? If the first unit isn't having that much success, put in a guy like TJ Long, who's an all-league player coming off the bench. He doesn't need his name announced in the starting lineup. He wants to be playing at the end of the game when it matters. And as long as they are able to have that consistency, especially from outside, they could absolutely make a run in this thing. But it's an uphill battle for them compared to previous seasons.
Yeah, it feels like that. They have depth. You mentioned these players that can come off the bench and really contribute. Yeah. But the men's team does seem to, I guess, inconsistency would be sort of the watchword this year. They didn't go on any huge runs, but they would maybe win a couple, lose a couple. It's been a little bit up and down for John Becker's squad.
It really has been, and they're such a young team. They brought in 9 new players this season, and John Becker is maybe the toughest head coach to play for in the state of Vermont, regardless of sport, because he demands so much out of his players, and he asks his players to play in such a specific system where in so many different levels of basketball, whether it's high school, college, or professional, the star players take control of the game. And for UVM, they really value team basketball and making sure that everybody gets the touches and everybody gets looks, and they have the talent on that roster. It's just a matter of putting it together. Can guys, if TJ Hurley is shooting threes, but he's going 2 for 10, where is the secondary production going to come from, and who else is going to be on for them? So for them, it's really just finding the rhythm, finding the cohesion of guys that have tried to build this chemistry that we're so accustomed to seeing from previous UVM basketball squads. That we'll see if they're able to make it work with 9 new players on that roster from the start of the season.
Folks watching live on YouTube, you have questions for Jack Bain, put them in the chat and we'll relay them to him. Getting back to the women's team briefly, Coach Alyssa Kresge has just done such a phenomenal job with this team over the last few years, especially. How far could they potentially get, do you think, in the playoffs this year?
Man, if they're able to figure it out with more than just the 6 players that they really run with in rotation right now, if they can get to a point where they can trust Savannah Creel in critical situations to relieve Nicola Prieta, who's playing upwards of 40 minutes a game right now.
What a season she's had, by the way.
What a season she's had. Conference Player of the Year type of season. They can absolutely win a game in March Madness. There's no doubt in my mind. They need to get the right matchup. Yep. Getting a 15 seed and going down to NC State, man, they were so close last year.
Oh my
halftime.
Gosh.
That was a really good game. But they have to get away from the top-heavy Power 5 teams in the NCAA to try to squeak out a win, because UConn runs a WNBA farm team, and UCLA does as well, and Iowa State this year. So they've got to figure out a way to get a matchup where they can get into a situation where they have the matchups on paper, on the court to be able to pull out a victory. They can do it. They can do it.
I think they can too. And you mentioned that game last year against NC State. It was a tale of two halves. I watched that game and thinking, I can't believe it. They are right here with them. They are with this team. And of course, it falls apart a bit in the second half. But when you see a team get that close and you feel like, they might just be one or two players away from getting over to that next level.
They really could be, and they really are. I mean, Kira Hansen has been one of the best shooters in the America East, consistently producing upwards of 20 points a game when she's on, and she can shoot with the best in the country. I have no doubts about that, and she would be a big part of the reason why UVM would be able to make a run, because she has that ability to get points in bunches, score from outside, and if she gets closed out on, she's so good off the dribble coming inside. That mid-range game, and then of course that safety blanket of Nicola Prieta in the post is just so elite.
Yeah, that's a good safety blanket to have, no question about it. We were talking about some of the things in our high five segment before. I have to ask you personally, were you shocked by the huge upset of Spalding dethroning Mount Anthony for the high school state wrestling championship? That was a 36-year run.
Yeah, holy smokes. Congratulations to the Patriots, by the way. Something that will likely never be accomplished again in the history of high school sports. I was not very shocked, to be completely honest with you. We had been talking for the previous probably 2 seasons that Colchester was really close to upsetting Mount Anthony. Spalding obviously was on that bubble as well. Middlebury always produces really good wrestlers. So we knew that it was coming. And Mount Anthony had a change in head coach at their wrestling for their wrestling team. And when that happened, we kind of thought, okay, the writing's on the wall that this might happen in the next couple of seasons. When they won last year, we were like, wow, okay, maybe they can keep it going. But for Spalding to come out, I mean, they showed that they had that entire roster from the bottom weight class all the way up to the top. They had 12 wrestlers score points for them in the state championship meet. 7 of them qualified for finals. So that is absolutely not by accident. And so congratulations to Spalding. Congrats to Mount Anthony. But we think we saw that coming probably a couple seasons ago.
I'm glad that was on your radar. I always wonder what makes a school, from anywhere really, good at one thing, good at one sport, and for such a long time. What is that? How does it happen?
Man, it's all about culture. It really is about culture, and it's about getting the kids to buy in to a process. And in wrestling, you're in this cage that is your body, right? You can only wrestle kids that are your size, and so for Mount Anthony, a bit of it, that's the luck of the draw, but they also had the technique down for each of those weight classes to be able to get to a position where they could have that much success for 36 years. That's unprecedented. So it's all about culture in that scape, and a little bit of luck having the kids that want to be able to do it, but just kind of like Rice with basketball. If you want to play basketball, you go to Rice High School and you have a chance to win a championship year in and year out.
You're a Vermonter. I have to ask, what does it mean to you? You know so much about sports. You have such a great institutional knowledge, but to know it and to report it in the state where you grew up, what does that mean to you as a person, as a sportscaster?
It means everything. I mean, it's why I've stayed for as long as I have, and it's 4 years. That's a long time for a TV reporter to be in one place, and now it is nowadays. So really, it's my love for this community. No one knows it better than I do, I like to think, and so to be able to profile these really talented young adults from their freshman years of high school all the way up to their senior years of college, and then sometimes even beyond that in the professional scape. It is so rewarding. It's rewarding to meet the parents of those kids, to cover the coaches who are, some of them were my coaches back in the day, which is really crazy. It's really all about the community and making sure that everybody feels like they have the representation that they deserve in something that they put, their life and blood and sweat and tears into. So that's really what makes it rewarding for myself.
It must have been great then, too, to see the recent Olympics and the success that Vermonters had there.
Absolutely.
Nathaniel and I were both so excited about that, and we're not even from Vermont.
Absolutely. I mean, what did you guys say? 21% of all
Yes.
Team USA medals came from some sort of Vermont connection?
7 in total out of the 33 total U.S. medals were won by Vermonters or people with connections, ties to Vermont.
Yeah, so it just shows that this is a breeding ground for Winter Olympics, and there's absolutely the opportunities to come here and ski at Sugarbush, at Killington, Jay Peak, wherever it might be. And I had a great quote from a guy that skis at Cochran's, and I was there the night that, or the morning rather, that Ryan had his first Olympic race. You just rip the rope toe, and that could be you someday, man. Like you just grab hold of that thing, and you get so many laps, as many as you can on that slalom, and you could be Ryan Cochran-Siegel in a few years. And Cochran's, I think, is very close to having some boom of Olympians that just come out in the next, it's probably not going to be the next Winter Olympics or the Winter Olympics after that, but if you start to look at the late 2030s, like there could be some serious candidates from Cochran's once again.
Yeah, just rip that rope toe. That's all you got to do.
Rip the rope toe, and that could be you. That's the greatest quote I got this winter, man.
Hey, Jack, word on the street is you're kind of a pretty big Boston Red Sox fan?
That's not the word on the street. That is a fact.
Well, we have something in common then. And I would love if you could stick around for the next segment as we look ahead to some of the pro sports and some of the things coming up with that. You want to stick with us?
Absolutely, 100%.
Fantastic. We'll be right back on the Sports Report with Jack Main. And welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb here in the studio with Nathaniel Wilson, our producer, and with my NBC5's Jack Main. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the sports now. We talked about playoffs already with high school and college, and of course there's the pros. I'm gonna hold off a little bit on the Red Sox talk because I first have to ask. I am a big hockey fan as well, and I bleed the black and gold. It's all about the Boston Bruins for me. I don't know. You could be a Montreal Canadiens fan for all I know. Good, I'm getting the right answer there. And by the way, those of you who may be watching north of the border, we love you too. Let us know in the chat if you have questions for Jack Main. But as we're talking, Jack, right now, the Bruins are sitting in the last available wild card berth by the skin of their teeth. They're 2 points separated from the Washington Capitals. They got a big game coming up with them on Saturday. They do have 3 games in hand on the Caps. I'm wondering what you think about the Bruins' chances for just making the playoffs this year.
Man, it looks good. It looks good, and they're getting their guns back from the Olympics and getting those skaters back, and Swayman obviously as well, who probably didn't have the Olympics that he would like to have. I mean, for the Bruins, it feels like a little bit like the Red Sox, from the past, 4 or 5 years where they really bottomed out and had to bring in a new coach and tried to change the culture of trading away their franchise player to a Eastern Conference rival, nonetheless. Mm-hmm. For them to be able to get back to a position where McAvoy is really leading this team and Swayman leading this team as well to try to get to a point where they can claw their way into the Stanley Cup playoffs. The chances are good, but it's all about how you finish this season.
Yeah, no question. And my whole thing with the Bruins this year is, look, I don't expect them, even if they make the playoffs, they're not going to go on a deep run. They don't have quite the horses, I think, to compete with some of the really upper echelon teams in the NHL. But I think it would be a huge accomplishment for them to make the playoffs, especially given the year they had last year.
Well, I mean, look at look at the Bruins teams from like 2022, right? That, or the 2022-23 team, right? That was I mean, one of the best hockey seasons of all time, and eliminated in the first round. So who says they can't go on a run, right? Like,
I love the way you're thinking,
Jack. You can absolutely get into a 7-game series, and Mad Dog Russo will tell you this, who's a big hockey guy. He'll say, it's not like the NBA Finals where it's chalk most of the time. It is these games will go 7. These series will go 7 games, and it really could get down to a point where it's anybody's game. And if the Bruins play their cards right and they have the depth to be able to pull off a run, who says they can't win a 7-game series?
And that is the thing about hockey too. It's if you get on the run at the right time, if your goalie gets hot at the right time, and certainly Jeremy Swayman is capable of being that upper echelon goalie. I think who can win you a playoff series. That's what I want to see. And the reason I say I don't, obviously I'd love to see them go on a deep run. Even if they don't, they have so many players coming up now that for the longest time, the Bruins had the weakest draft system. They had just nothing in their farm, but now they've traded away. They've gotten some good players here. They got an absolute steal in Fraser Minton in trading away Brandon Carlo last year. So the future for them looks real good. If they can make the playoffs this year, like you said, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't write them out, but get in and just get dancing, and we'll see what happens.
Now, shifting to basketball, the guy sitting next to you, Nathaniel Wilson, is a huge Miami Heat fan. It's not his fault. He lived in Florida. It's a thing. But let's make him even more uncomfortable.
Let's do it.
Do you think Jason Tatum is going to come back this year after just tearing his Achilles tendon last year and help the Celtics, who are already, by the way above expectations for where people thought they'd be this year?
First of all credit in the world goes to Jaylen Brown. That guy has been balling. MVP kind of season for him. First team All-NBA absolutely coming up. But the Celtics got some much-needed depth in their front court, getting Vucevic at the trade deadline for Anthony Simons. So to be able to strengthen up what was really the backbone of that championship team in 24 with Porzingis and Horford, you're now getting an option with Vucevic, who can stretch the floor. He's basically good for a double-double if he's getting the minutes that he needs. And then you factor in a potential Jason Tatum return. In my opinion, Tatum will need 10 regular season games, and then we can give him to the postseason and see what the heck happens out there. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna look at like a Miami Heat situation and how they're trying to put it all together right now and rebuilding that franchise, wouldn't want to be Nathaniel over here.
I got a prediction for you, Mitch, because we know Tatum, obviously incredible basketball player, top 5 guy in the league when he's healthy, but also just he seems like a guy who ends up in unfortunate situations, whether it's not winning the finals MVP when his team finally makes it over the hill, or not playing a lot in the Olympics 2 years ago. And so I think if we factor in the law that seems to exist that Tatum has to be embarrassed a little bit, at least, even when things go well, I think probably what's going to happen is he'll come back. The Celtics will lock up that number 2 seed. Yeah. The Heat will make the 7 seed in the play-in.
Oh, don't
and then
even.
Tatum will just have an all-time stinker. The Heat will upset in the 7-2. And then that'll be it for the 2026 Celtics.
Let me ask you, who holds the record for most points ever scored in a Game 7?
I think it is Tatum against the Philadelphia 76ers in 2024.
51 points for Jason Tatum in a Game 7 NBA record.
That's an astonishing fact. I never would have guessed that.
So he's
not Jordan, not other people you would think. Tatum,
and it was Steph Curry that had that record actually in a previous Western Conference series against the Sacramento Kings. So he says Tatum gets put in these unfortunate situations. I'd say the Celtics are a team that is run on who is put in the best situation to have success. And if Jason Tatum is drawing the best defender, the best perimeter defender that a team has to offer, then Jaylen Brown is going to go crazy. Jason Tatum doesn't need to be anything other than a facilitator, because he averaged the most points, the most assists, and the most rebounds for the Celtics during that championship run, yet Brown got the MVP that season. So I am absolutely willing to say that Jason Tatum doesn't need to be an all-league player for the Celtics to have success. Clearly, they're a better offensive explosive team without Jason Tatum this season. So you just bring him back into a system that is already functioning at such a high level that they don't need him to be an All-NBA player this year. They need him to be a threat and then pass the ball to the guys that have been doing it all season. And shout out to Peyton Pritchard, by the way, because he has been getting it done.
I love watching him shoot the three, don't you?
He just lit up the Lakers last week.
Yes, he did.
Really
Caitlin Clark, the Caitlin Clark of the NBA.
There you go. Exactly
Don't let
right.
Caitlin hear that one. She didn't like
No,
that.
she would probably not like that comparison. I'll say one more thing about Tatum that I think he deserves a lot of credit for. There has been a lot of talk about when he's going to come back, and there was even some speculation he may have played in that game against the Sixers because they moved the game up to prime time, and people thought, oh, that's because Tatum's coming back. What he said, and I think he meant it, was, I don't want to come back and disrupt what I'm seeing on the court right now.
Yeah.
He loves the chemistry. He loves what Jaylen Brown is doing. He doesn't want to come in and say, I'm back, everybody go back to the way it was. He wants the team to succeed. I think that's what you want from your superstar player, right?
I would absolutely want that. If winning is the number one priority for your best player, whether it's Steph Curry, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, and you can filter that out based on who you think wants to win versus who you think wants to be a star. But that is a big vote of confidence to the Celtics and what they have going for them, because it's a culture that should be Jason Tatum's team, like 110%. Jaylen Brown should be Scottie Pippen to his Michael Jordan, but instead it is a team of guys that is built on chemistry, built on winning, and Joe Mazzulla has that team ready to go on another finals run.
I think he's coach of the year. Nathaniel, you agree, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Mazzulla obviously has been awesome, and he's funny to watch from the outside as just the crazy person that he is, watching the town every day, right? That's his thing. I think the point on Tatum and the role that he needs to play is an interesting one, because I think it's something that is easier said than done. I think when I watched the Celtics win the 2024 finals, I was watching and I thought they were just so much more talented everywhere than that Dallas team. It was a series that I don't even think should have been as close as it was. And I was watching Tatum and I felt like there were times in the game where he just puts his head down, puts his shoulder into somebody's chest, and gets to the free throw line or gets a layup. And I'm sitting there watching I think if he just did that every play, he would be a better player. But I think there is also the part of him that is the part of so many of our talented basketball players from the last around 20 years is wanting to be Kobe, is wanting to take contested mid-range jump shots and turn around, fall away, post fades. And it's not as good of a shot. And I think that's my main issue when I watch Tatum play, is I watch him and I see you are a 6'11", 240 dude who's big enough to play center, but has the skills and quickness of a guard. But he wants to play like that guard, and I want him to play like that big guy, I think, when I watch him.
All right, I have waited long enough. I got to get my baseball itch on here. Jack, I hope you're as excited as I am about the Boston Red Sox this coming season. I usually go into off seasons to the regular season complaining about what the Red Sox didn't do. I think they did all the right stuff here, and my biggest thing for them, and I could see you're a little surprised at that, is getting a true number 2 pitcher to go behind Garrett Crochet in Ranger Suarez. Wonderful pickup.
Absolutely. Ranger Suarez deserving of the money that he got, and very excited for the rotation. I think this is what Red Sox fans are most looking forward to, is just seeing this pitching staff go to work every single day. And right now, 1 through 4 on that rotation is absolutely pretty much put in stone. That 5th spot is going to be a battle of a bunch of young guys, which I think is really good and really healthy for that team as well.
Who have shown promise, by the way.
Exactly, and have had success in the postseason just last year. So while I do think that Ranger Suarez was a nice pickup, and Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras are good pieces, they didn't re-sign Alex Bregman literally 5 months after they traded Rafael Devers to clear space for Alex Bregman. So you started spring training last year with 2 all-star third basemen, 2 guys who might be Hall of Famers at their position, and now you have none of them coming into this season. And to me, it's a failure to recognize that while it is while baseball is built on your farm system being strong, especially in today's age where you got to build up a healthy AAA team and have that depth, you do need those big boppers in there. And there's a lot of pressure this year on Will Abreu to take a step forward and play every day against lefties. Roman Anthony needs to be an MVP candidate and compete with the likes of Aaron Judge and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. within his own division.
Even though he's only a second-year player?
Even though
That's a lot to ask of a guy that young.
It is, but you didn't bring back the guaranteed piece in that offense. Yeah. And that is the biggest concerning thing for me. While you can prevent teams from scoring runs, you got to score runs to win baseball games. Right. And hopefully that production comes from those young players. But man, I do think that Craig Breslow had a big ego this winter. There was a lot of talk that the Sox were going to make some serious moves and really solidify that lineup, and they just did not do that.
The thing that annoys me, and I do agree with you on this, is the Rafael Devers trade. At the time, I know everybody freaked out about that. I wasn't so against that. I was against what they got for him in return, which was almost nothing. But what really annoyed me was the money they saved on his contract. That money, as you have said, could have been spent on a very big player to, if not re-sign Bregman, replace him with somebody who could hit as well. But what do you think about Caleb Durbin, who they're probably going to put at third base, right? This guy is a rookie from Milwaukee.
Yeah, I imagine that Durbin's going to get most of the looks at the hot corner this year, and then you're going to have, kind of a bunch of guys competing for that second base job. Yeah. But if he's one of those young guys that needs to step up and perform. And the one thing about Caleb Durbin that's fantastic is he doesn't strike out. I mean, he's got one of the lowest strikeout rates in the National League last year, puts the bat on the ball, and when you put the ball in play, good things happen. Alex Cora will be the first guy to tell you that. So I do like the pickup of Durbin. That's not the pop that they're looking for that they had at third base last year, though.
It's not. And I guess what I was thinking is, pitching is everything. That's how I look at baseball.
I agree.
So I think a lot of the run prevention there, they still have a great outfield. They could end up still trading Jarren Duran or somebody because they still have that glut. Oh, you like him? Okay.
I really love Jarren Duran. Okay. It pains me to say this, but Yoshida doesn't have a spot on this roster, and they're keeping him around because he makes $18 million, but he's a platoon designated hitter that only hits singles. And that's really tough to justify having a spot on a roster for that guy because he can't play the outfield. According to the Red Sox, he can't play the outfield, and according to the rest of the league, he can't hit lefties and he doesn't hit home runs. So it'll be interesting to see. I do think they should keep Duran over Yoshida for sure.
Jack, will you come back at some point? I've run out of time. I want to talk to you for hours. Will you come back?
Let's do it. You got to just let me know.
All right.
Shoot me a text, and I'll be right here.
Going to absolutely do that. Thank you so much for being with us today on the Sports Report. I really appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in to the Sports Report. If you missed any of today's show, you can find it on our YouTube channel, and you can also catch the show on Vermont Public Radio Monday nights at 8 o'clock, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts. Find out more about the show and how to get in touch with us at vermontpublic.org/sports. The Sports Report is a production of Vermont Public, produced by Nathaniel Wilson. The technical director is Mike Dunn, with Kyle Ambusk on graphics. Joey Palumbo is running the sound, of course, and Holt Alvey on cameras and video production assistance from Dave Rice. Our audio engineer is Pete Engish. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and your host for the program that's all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next week as well. Thank you, guys.
Nailed pose.